you are not your thoughts. So maybe you have experienced this little voice constantly chattering in your head, and this realization that this is not you is so liberating. Yo, Zenith Nation, welcome back to Catch The Zenith, the podcast where I document my journey to get better in life and business. Today we've got another episode of Zenith Reflections where I comment on some of my most interesting posts from the week on X. And by the way, if you're new here to this podcast, I'm Nicola. I'm currently building an AI startup while also writing my master thesis in startup entrepreneurship. And with that said, please share and enjoy. First one, you are not your thoughts. The voice that speaks in your head is not you. You are the one who hears it speak. Don't identify with what your mind says any more than you identify with what someone on the street says. This is one of the most liberating truths to know. A text by Chris Williamson. Now, why I'm bringing this up? So, I've read a book called Solve for Happy written by Mo Gavdat back, I guess, in 2021. And for those of you who don't know this book and who Mo Gavdat is, this book basically outlines a blueprint for happiness, living a happy and fulfilled life. And Mo Gavdat is the former CEO of Google X. I think Google X is doing that crazy technology stuff, things, experiments, and so on. And interestingly, I guess this author, he struggled a little bit with living a happy life, and then he figured out a blueprint and he shared that there in this book. And I would say happiness for itself, we can discuss in another episode, whether we should seek for happiness or for meaning in life. This is also a really interesting topic I love speaking about. But I want to talk about this key takeaway that I got, or one of the key takeaways I got from this book, which is you are not your thoughts. So maybe you have experienced this little voice constantly chattering in your head. And this realization that this is not you is so liberating. So maybe you have experienced that all the time. There is a little voice in your head that comes up with weird ideas, with weird thoughts that you think, is that really me? Why am I thinking such stupid shit? Why? And at least that happened in my life. And this realization of if you have weird thoughts, you don't need to identify with them because it's simply not you. You just can listen to them because in the end, all that really matters is action, what you actually do. Thoughts are worthless. All that counts is action. In other words, you can have really bad intentions. You can have bad thoughts. This little voice in your head is really talking stupid things. But in the end, you can still do good for the world. You can have bad intentions, still do good actions. And that's a really interesting thought experiment, I believe, or interesting thing, I believe. And personally, I also sometimes make jokes about these weird thoughts I have, knowing that this isn't me, and this is such a liberating thing. Yeah. So this is one of the main takeaways I got. A really, I would say, great thing to know that you are not a bad person if you have those weird thoughts. Because in the end, just because you have weird thoughts, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is what you then actually do in your life. And if you want to read more about this concept and other concepts to become happy, I recommend reading the book Solve for Happy, Engineer Your Path to Joy by Mo Gavdat. I hope that was helpful. The next one, again, a text by Chris Williamson. 90% of issues can be solved by a good sleep, a glass of water, a gym session, a walk outdoors, or a chat with a friend. Or said differently, most problems or challenges are easily fixed. 90% of issues can be solved by a good sleep, a glass of water, a gym session, a walk outdoors, or a chat with a friend. This is basically, I got that from Chris Williamson. So maybe often you will find that low mood is accompanied by certain physical, habitual, or environmental routines like staying in bed, being solitary, not eating or drinking well. These are not a coping mechanism. They are a worsening mechanism. Avoid them at all costs. So this is all basically this idea I've got from Chris Williams, and I thought it's really, really valuable because sometimes, especially I would say in the past, nowadays not anymore, but I'm having some challenges in my life and I'm making up stuff why I have those challenges. But a lot of things can be easily solved with small routines. And also I believe it's so important to have the basics right to prevent such challenges, such maybe you are in a bad mood, maybe you are ruminating over something. And then simply knowing that, okay, what's really important in those situations to don't neglect the basics for the basic habits for a healthy life. And with that, I mean sleeping 8 hours every single night or even more, sleeping at the same time every single night. So having a consistent bedtime routine, sleeping, for instance, in 10 p.m. and waking up in 6 a.m. I think it's one of the most life-changing habits I implemented or that really helped me on my journey. And then the second of the basics is nutrition, and I'm talking to myself, to eat whole foods, most of it non-processed basically, a lot of veggies, complex carbs, good proteins, chicken, eggs. And the third pillar is then working out, sports, stuff like that you have a consistent workout routine. In my case, it's 5 times per week. I work out, sometimes 6 times, and I feel great like this. And as long as I do those 3 basics, a lot of those small issues in my life, if I had like a bad mood, can be really fast solved. I can tell you, if I work 12 hours straight and the last hour is pretty hard, and I'm asking myself, is it really worth to work so hard all the time? And then I finish my workday at 7 p.m., for instance. I crush the gym and I feel like I'm feeling way better. And it's just so small routines that can have such a big impact. And I think that's a great point that Chris Williamson makes here, that simply good night sleep. If you have a good night's sleep, a lot of things disappear, a lot of struggles in your life. A glass of water, also an important thing, because when you are dehydrated, when you don't have sufficient water in your system, you can be more irritable. Yeah, you are faster upset, for instance. And I think I can't rephrase that or paraphrase that. I'm not sure. There is a study out there that says that a certain percentage of the entire population is constantly dehydrated. A huge part, actually. I'm not sure which number, but it was crazy high. And I'm thinking like, okay, just drinking water, it's so simple. And for the past many years now, hydration, water is some of the most valuable things. Here I have a good tea, so a little bit hydration, always good. Let's take a sip. And another thing is a walk outdoors. What he mentioned, also pretty interesting thing to do. Walking outside, especially in the nature, I really love it. Calms my mind. And the last thing is a chat with a friend. This is also cool, like social interaction, obviously. Although I believe a lot of struggles that we encounter during our life can be solved by first facing it by yourself. So you write the struggle down, you think about it, you speak with yourself, you're having an own conversation and thinking, what would my 85-year-old self do? And getting seeking for advice from that future you, basically. But simply confronting yourself with that, I think it's so powerful. And obviously a friend can also help, or your family. So long story short, I believe a lot of difficult things like, oh, I had a fight, I'm feeling bad, or I'm in a bad mood, I'm feeling sad, whatever it might be, a lot of things, those things, 90% can be solved by small routines like a good night's sleep or a glass of water. Next one. Who cares if you only get in shape for 12 weeks? The goal is not to get in shape, it's to stay in shape for the rest of your life. So I remember myself back, I would say, I'm working out now since I'm 16, basically. And in the beginning, the goal was clear: to get in shape, to have a six pack, to look good in summer, when walking on the beach, or at least in the nightclub, in the club, when I'm out with my boys. I want to look good in the t-shirt. That was me when I was 18 years old, for sure. But at that point, it was really the goal of also staying healthy and be fit. That was also a part of it all the time, quite frankly, because I love that fitness stuff. But it was also to a huge degree to the goal of getting in shape. That was one of the main, I would argue, maybe not, but I think one of the main motivators was to get in shape, look good. And then obviously to impress, for instance, girls with that. And that was me as a young teenager. And I realized then later on, when I got into this self-improvement thing, I've started to read books like Atomic Habits, like 12 Rules for Life, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I realized that, okay, this is not a really sustainable approach. What I need to do is actually to think long-term and to basically starting to embody or to identify with this new identity of being a healthy and fit person and to be in shape for the rest of your life. It's not only a one-time investment that you work out for 6 months or 3 months to get in shape, and then all of a sudden you don't know what to do and you eat crappy food and you have this yo-yo effect that you look even worse as before. Like you gained more weight, you had more weight on your ribs than before. And this is something I wanted to prevent, because one time it happened that it creeped in, like that I got in shape, and then I had like a period of 1 or 2 years that it creeped in, like started to eat again a little bit more, a little bit bad food, and all of a sudden I gained a lot of weight. Not all of a sudden, obviously, there was like a creeping process, but I would say then, especially I made a conscious decision in more or less conscious, let's put it like that, in 2019 in summer. I told myself, that was actually quite intentional and conscious, like I said, from now on, let's work out again 5 times per week. Let's get back on track. And since then, I've never stopped, actually, like consistently, because from when I was 16 to till, so I don't know how many years that was, but I had some periods I worked out a lot, I got in shape, got the six pack, then I trained a little bit less and I gained a little bit of weight. And after that period I said, okay, from now on, for the rest of my life, I want to stay in shape. And since 2019 summer till now, I'm always working out 5 times per week, eating healthy most of the time, or 95% or even more of the time. And because I realized that, okay, I want to stay in shape for the rest of my life. It's not like this constant up and down. That's not really sustainable. And the same also applies to relationships, to business, and habits in general. I give you an example. The goal is not to get married or get a girlfriend or boyfriend. It's to stay in a relationship or stay in a marriage. The same in business. It's not like to get rich in 90 days and never work again. It's to stay in business and help people and make money. The same with habits in general. The goal is not to eat a healthy meal once a week. The goal is to eat healthy for the rest of your life, to stay fit and healthy, and hopefully when you die as a healthy human being. And that's ultimately my goal, to die as a healthy person, because I don't want to be in the I don't really want to be in this situation to not be able to walk up the stairs or having a lot of needing to rely on a lot of external support. I want to live until the last days of my life like a healthy human being, and I want to work hard on that actually this will be the result, that I will be in this position. Obviously, there are some factors that are outside of my control, but there's a lot of things I can do to decrease the likelihood that I will end up as an unhealthy person in those older ages of my life. So long story short, let's sum that up. It's not like um, habits and stuff like that, healthy habits, it's not like a one-time investment. And I saw that many, many times, and that's totally fine because I did it myself. People getting in shape, which is actually wonderful. They made an active effort, put in the work, they worked out, and they got in shape. But then all of a sudden, the yo-yo effect creeps in. And this is something to prevent and have in mind. And this really helped me. At least it worked for me already since more than almost 6 years now, I think. Yeah, 6 years, something like that. Maybe 5.5 years straight. Already before, obviously, I worked out, but there it was less, as I outlined, it was less that I did it straight. And now, without any interruptions, simply knowing I'm not anymore looking for the short-term payoff, for the short-term result, like getting in shape, looking great. No, it's really I'm really passionate about fitness, health, nutrition, and I'm looking long term. And I imagine myself when I'm, let's say, 50 years old and I have some children, beautiful children, I'm growing them up, helping them to become great human beings, to be a good role model. And as I experienced in the past, if somebody's doing something good as a role model, you are also more likely to adopt that habit for that particular habit. Like if I'm waking up consistently, if I'm eating a healthy diet, if I'm working out and my children see that, they are more likely maybe to also do that. So that's something to, at least for me, to keep in mind. Yo, Zenith Nation, quick break. Each Sunday, I write a free newsletter called Zenith Sunday. In it, I share simple lessons I learn about doing better work and living a better life. It's short, easy to read, and costs nothing. If you would like a little boost each week, sign up below. And now, back to the show. Next one. When working in teams, make sure that your contribution is visible. People need to know what you've done. This doesn't mean you should report more than you work, but at least spend a few seconds letting people know what you accomplished. So a quick story here. Back in 2022, I enrolled in a master's program at the University of St. Gallen, which is a small elite uni in Switzerland. And there we had 2 days. It was like an intro ceremony, kickoff days, basically, with a lot of speeches, a lot of fireside chats and networking, stuff like that. And in the end of those 2 days, we had like a nice dinner. It was a really cool experience. Pretty impressed of this whole thing that they actually did for the students. And there was a strategy consultant giving a speech, having a fireside chat with one of our professors. And she said exactly what I just read. Whenever you're working a project, make sure that your contribution is somehow visible, that actually people know that you've contributed something. Because sometimes there is this discretionary effort, which is obviously really, really great if you do that. But if nobody knows it, sometimes people don't really can appreciate that. And I would say this was simply a good lesson for me, that to make sure that, hey, when I work hard, I want to let people know in the end what I've done. And that doesn't need to be in a pushy way. That can be in a subtle way to say in the meeting, hey, look, this is these things I've done. And here's the result. I want to share that with you guys. And you make it visible. And I found it really helpful, and it served me pretty well, especially throughout the master's program, where we had a lot of group work to do, to simply like putting in, for instance, in meetings, to prepare myself properly, then to give them an update where I'm standing, and always, being on top of everything, and that letting people know about that, because obviously they know if you are prepared, that communicates something. So, not to expand that, long story short, make sure that your contribution is visible in your endeavors when you work with other people, that they can also appreciate what you did. And also what's helpful is to ask for feedback then. If people saw you did something and you present your work, whether it's like you at uni, it was in my case, I needed to prepare a few slides for our slide deck we needed to submit in the end for the group work, or to write a part of a paper, for instance. And then, people can see it and you can ask for feedback. Hey, what do you think I could do better? Or what do you think was good here? So I found it really, really helpful, this lesson. When working in teams, make sure that your contribution is visible. Thank you to this strategy consultant for this lesson. Next one. $100 million Leads by Alex Hormozi Learnings. So I had a thread on X recently where I'm sharing some of my learnings I got from the book $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi, which is all about how to let people know about the stuff you sell, making them interested in the stuff you sell, basically. And I'm rereading this book. It's a really good one for everybody who struggle with getting leads or enough leads. And obviously, I'm still in the process of rereading it, but here are already some few things I posted on X. The first one is give away the secrets, sell the implementation. So every business owner, not every business owner, at least it was me. I thought that for a long time, like, hey, if I share my secrets, like I had, for those of you who don't know it, I had a coaching business which I run roughly 2 years, helped people with ADHD to become more productive. And what I've done there in the beginning, I thought, okay, if I share all the secrets I have, like secrets, like the systems I will implement with my clients, people, I like, they will know everything. And I was thinking, this is not the right way to do. But then I learned that from Alex Hormozi. Actually, this is exactly what you want to do, especially if you have like a free offer like as a starting offer, and then a paid offer later on. Because then it's really important to make the free stuff as good as your paid stuff, or even better, because people will judge you on your free stuff. If this podcast here is crap, people are less likely to buy something in the future I want to sell. So therefore, I think it's important to make those things good. And that was a huge lesson for me, to make the free content I put out there during that time, during the coaching business time, on social media, for instance, or my podcast. And by the way, all the podcast episodes about ADHD are still online here on this podcast. I transferred that from another podcast I had during that time. And I try to follow this approach. Hey, I will give you all the secrets, everything I know about ADHD or productivity, whatever. And if you want the implementation of that, so setting up the proper systems for that, your productivity system, for instance, then you can work together with me. And that worked pretty well. And learned me this lesson of, hey, don't be afraid to give the most valuable thing away, because people will actually be highly grateful and more likely to buy. Because imagine if you give away sucky fluff, as Alex Hormozi calls it, more people will know that they are less likely to take up on your offer, because they will think, if your free stuff sucked, your paid stuff most likely will also suck. So therefore, it makes not really sense to give something for free away that is not really high quality. Also, what I've learned so far is, if someone is telling you, I don't know whom to contact to get my first customer, tell them they should open their phone and socials and look at the 100s of people they have in their lists. So why I'm mentioning that here? Everybody who wants to start a business can get leads. And one way to do it is simply open your phone, watch all the people you have in your contact, and ask them if they know somebody that could benefit from your solution. Obviously, there is a little bit more nuance to it, and I would read it in the book, but that's the gist of it. Everybody could start reaching out to people and get potential customers on board. Because on LinkedIn, we have so many people, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Pick the platform where you have the most contacts and then start reaching out. How to reach out, I suggest reading the book. But the point is, nobody can tell someone that, hey, I don't know anybody, I don't have people to contact, or I don't have leads. Yeah. And the definition of leads is simply a person you can contact. What you then actually want is an engaged lead, so a person who shows interest in the stuff you sell. But long story short, I found that a really liberating thought, simply knowing that, hey, this is my get out of jail card fast by or starting a business fast card, by simply starting to approach the people you already know and ask them if they know someone. And the cool thing is then maybe they are all actually interested in the stuff you sell, or they will refer you someone, or both of it. So either way, you can win. Then the next lesson I learned so far is outreach lesson. Yeses give me opportunity, nos give me feedback. Either way, I win. So this is really a growth mindset thing, I would say. In sales or in marketing or when generating leads, you will be faced with a lot of rejection. People will tell you, no, I'm not interested, I don't want that. But the cool thing is really, nos give you feedback, how you can do better, what you can tweak perhaps. And yeses on the other side give you opportunity. Yeah, if somebody says yes to your offer, it's great. You have a new customer, obviously. But either way, you can win and learn something. And I found that really, really empowering in my life. Next one, helpful sales question. For those of you who are in sales or running a business, what would I have to do to make it worth your time? What makes it a no? Or what would make it a yes? So when you're, especially this applies to when giving something for free away, like you have a free offer, maybe a lead magnet. In my case, I had actually a lead magnet that I offered during the coaching business time. For those of you who don't know what is a lead magnet, it's like a free version that solves a narrow problem, which you give, as I said, for free away, which is pretty valuable. And then if people got interested and they use it, got value out of it, then they become qualified to your paid stuff, to your paid offer, basically. And in my case, it was like a 7 days program I had as a starting offer, which was free. It helped them to get a small project done in 7 days, or at least to make a lot of progress within 7 days on a procrastinated project. And then they qualified for my paid offer, which is an 8-week program, which gives them all the foundations when it comes to ADHD and productivity. But for this 7-day program, obviously, there are also some hidden costs associated. People need to watch the video I uploaded. People need to attend the kickoff call. And what was really helpful to identify those hidden costs, because this question, what would I have to do to make it worth your time, actually is associated with that whenever you sell something, you not only maybe charge something for it, so there is an actual monetary cost to it, but also there is time involved. People need to do the onboarding. When you sell software, the entire integration, it takes time, and those are hidden costs. And to decrease those hidden costs as much as possible is so helpful that the customer in the end has almost nothing to do. Another question was, what makes it a no? Powerful sales question. This is simply you're asking to understand rather than simply saying something to what they said before. Or what would make it a yes? And if they tell you then, yeah, if you do this and this, then it would make it a yes, then you know exactly what you could do. And maybe if it's realistic, you say, yeah, this is actually totally doable. I found those really helpful sales questions, which I personally also used in my some of my sales calls I had with prospects. And yeah, those were some of the most important learnings thus far of the book $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi. By the way, you can buy it on Amazon. He has also the free version as an audiobook, also a video course completely free without opting. So I highly recommend that. Next one, the 5 key pillars of my old coaching business: traffic, then content, then conversation, then closing, then transformation, and lastly, retention. So let me unpack that a little bit. So almost every single business need to generate leads. So people, or engaged lead, people who are interested in the stuff we sell. And then we also need to sell them. We need to close them, with a sales calls, for instance, or with a checkout page, whatever it is, depends on the business. Then we need to deliver the actual product or service. And then in the best case, we make sure they buy multiple times, or they get worth more as a customer. So you can upsell them, for instance, and you ensure they refer, for instance, other people. Yeah. Long story short, what I did in my coaching program, and for those of you who are starting a coaching business or any business, maybe this gives you some kind of a framework. The first thing you need is traffic. In my coaching business, what I've done is I use social media to generate leads. And what I've done is I use my Instagram and Facebook groups. So what I've did specifically is I went on I watched, in my case, it was an ADHD business. So I went on ADHD influencers Instagram pages, and I looked there, the comments, people who frequently commented, and I went on their profile. I followed them. I liked 3 pictures, and I commented on 2 posts. So it's like this 3-2-1 rule. You like 3 pictures, comment on 2 posts, and follow them. And with the overarching goal to get them on your profile and follow you back. And then later on, if they engage with your content, to start a messenger conversation. Another way to generate traffic I did through Facebook groups. I went into Facebook groups of ADHDers and I provided free value. I commented a lot, and that was another way how to bring people on my profile. The second thing is then once you generate traffic, so you make people like maybe curious, oh, what is this guy doing? You post frequently content. In my case, it was ADHD content, posted a lot of Instagram every single day. I posted stuff, and then people actually get value out of that. And if they get value and maybe commented on my posts, I started a conversation. I sent them a DM. Like, first, I simply built up rapport. I want to learn more about them, like how they are, how they came on my site, like being a real human being, not a weirdo. That was the thing. And later on, I transitioned to the topic of ADHD. Hey, do you also have ADHD? What are your main struggles? And if they saw, hey, what you're doing is actually interesting, and they had the struggles, I offered them like, hey, do you want to book a call and talk to me? If I believed I could help them. And then that was basically a sales call. And when I had them in my sales call, it was all about closing them, basically, if they're a good fit to my program. And that's for any business important. You need to sell them. And once I sold them, I did the transformation in coaching. This is basically you deliver your program. In my case, it was an 8-week or a 10-week program, 2 extra weeks that you got when you provided us with a testimonial, I think. And that's with everything. You need to have a product that you deliver. And lastly, and this is a really powerful thing, is retention. So as I just outlined, I spend some time generating leads, closing leads. But what is even more powerful, if you did a good job with your existing customers, which I did, especially towards the end of my, I would say with my second version of my program, a lot of people really liked it. They start to refer other people. They start telling them, hey, it's actually a great program. Do you want to try it out? And I had I remember the first time when I closed someone was a referral. My client did an intro. He was on the call. So there was already the trust that it works. And then it was a so easy close. This guy just told me, hey, send me over the payment link. And he paid it immediately. I enrolled him and rock and roll, and it worked great. And I thought, okay, I came then across later on about this question, what would you do if you never allowed to do marketing in future? And the answer is you would provide the best possible product experience, a great service you will provide that people will tell other people about it and refer you, and bring your customers. And that's so powerful because then you don't need to spend any time on marketing and sales. You just get free customers. So customer acquisition cost is 0. So I love that. So retention also a really important thing. So long story short, to wrap that up, with every business, you need to generate leads. Coaching specific, this means traffic generation. You post content and you start reaching out to people via messenger conversations. Then you need to have a sales call, you need to close them. And I suggest here having a script. This really helped me at least. Then you transform them, or you have the transformation, you deliver your services, your product, and then you make sure you retain them. Maybe you upsell them, and you make sure that they have an incentive to refer other people or an easy way to do it. Next one, use third grade reading level when doing marketing and sales. People will understand better the stuff that you want to sell them. So sometimes people, and I did that myself, want to sound fancy and use fancy words that they actually don't really understand themselves. And I came across this quote of Richard Feynman, who is Nobel Prize winner in physics, and he said, if you cannot explain something in simple terms, then you don't understand it. And I found that really helpful, because sometimes we are using complex words to describe something, but if somebody asks us who is totally, let's say, foreign from that particular domain you're in, how would you explain to that person what you're doing? And if you can't do it, you have not really understood it on a deeper level. And there is also a technique called the Feynman technique. It's all about like testing yourself to explain something in simple terms to someone else or to yourself. And I found it also helpful when preparing for exams. I remember recording actually a podcast episode about the Feynman technique, where I shared that, like simply trying, and it's the same approach with learning with flashcards or Anki, for instance. Anki is like an app where you can have like digital flashcards. You're testing yourself. You try to explain it something, a concept, a theory, an idea in your own words. And like that, you can really memorize things and ensure that you have really understood it. And I found it really helpful in sales, because when you use easy language that everybody can understand, it's way less cognitive demanding for the prospect. And I, especially also when it comes to actually everywhere in sales and marketing, but I'm currently doing an AI startup, and we needed to obviously create a pitch deck, which is like the baseline for everything that follows when you're raising money, or like in our case, we want to find a co-development partner, that like a customer that helps us with domain expertise, to make the pitch deck so easy to understand, to not use fancy words, come straight to the point. And that was a huge lesson for me, because sometimes I had the tendency, or still to this day, and I'm trying to improve, to talk too much around stuff and not about the main point. And then realizing that, hey, use simple language that is concise and to the point helps a lot, people understanding what you want to communicate. And to make this really practical, especially when it comes to sales, marketing, copies, or texts, or your pitch deck, whatever, here are 3 steps what you can do. Step 1, write a copy. Then in step 2, ask ChatGPT to rewrite it in third grade reading level. Exactly, that's what I'm using. And then you can revise and add maybe 1 or 2 domain specific words if it's too simple or vague. This is a really easy way to do it, to write things in easy words. Obviously, this is you are not really testing yourself if you have understood it, but if it needs to go fast, like in a pitch deck, this is a helpful thing to do. So long story short, use third grade reading level when doing marketing and sales. People will understand better the stuff that you want to sell them. Don't pretend just using with fancy word that you are something that you are not. And this is me talking to myself. Next one, and the last one, leadership lesson. The person with the highest standards should be the leader. So this is me talking to my future self, because obviously I'm now building an AI startup. I work together in teams, but I never had really an employee. I had once someone who helped me out with something, and there I got some leadership experience, and now in my some endeavors, but I never had maybe I had actually. It's not, but okay, let's maybe put it like that. Just also a note to myself. The person with the highest standard should be the leader. So I believe in every team, this person that has the highest standards in a particular domain should be the leader. And obviously, there are some caveats and some exceptions, but someone who's always challenging the status quo, who's always saying, we can do better. Let's put in some more work on that topic. Let's improve the copy here. No, this process can be way faster. We can deliver instead of 1 week, we can do that in 1 day. Those people who have the pace, who have the work ethic, the highest work ethic should be the leader, because this person everybody will follow, or this person is a great role model, and people are simply more likely if you live up to your if you do great work, people are also more likely to do it. And actually, I give you an example. I had a group work at the University of St. Gallen, and I had many group works, and I would say in some of my group works, I was some kind of the leader. I was organizing the meetings. I was making sure to assign the right task to the right person. And I was trying to having the highest standards in that group. So I try to reply really fast if someone texts me something. When I had like homework to do, I did it always on time or already before. I try to be the best possible team member. Especially, I would say I adopt this mindset in the third semester, my last exam semester, which was last year, beginning of the year till summer. And with that, a similar one say, I believe at that point I had the highest standards, and this is simply like from a rational standpoint in those groups, and that helped then, and it makes perfectly sense if I'm the leader. And I don't try to say that in an arrogant way. It was just like the fact. But I think also in future to myself, like I need to ensure that if someone else is more qualified, is better at the stuff they do, they should be the leader and not me. So if I in future have a company and somebody else is more qualified to be the CEO, this person should be the CEO. And I think in those moments, it's really important to quiet the ego and learn and say, hey, you're actually more qualified. Let's do that. And this is just me talking to my future self. And with a really limited experience of, let's say, having a large team of employees, which I didn't have. I worked obviously in different teams, whether it's at uni, in those group projects, whether during my coaching, one times I had one person helping me out with certain things, or now at Swisspreneur, I'm in the Swisspreneur is a non-profit organization in Switzerland for entrepreneurship with the mission to develop and advance entrepreneurship. And there I'm in the syndicate department where we do early startup investments. We are now 5 people in the team, and I'm doing like I'm like the lead of investor relations. And there again, I have this team setting. And I think also you can apply that everywhere. If someone is really qualified for a certain aspect, this person should be in charge of the main responsibility. And I found that just very powerful, and I learned that from Alex Ramosi again. All right. I hope that was not too confusing. Those are just some thoughts I had. And obviously, I don't know, I have still a lot to learn in terms of that, but I found it's already good to know that right now, if at one point I have 5, 10, or 20 people, which I need to make sure they are well, they are doing great, and I want to be a great leader, and I think that's a really helpful leadership lesson. With that said, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode, and yeah, talk soon. See you in the next one. Bye, guys.